the attorney who defended the nonprofits in that case, including the National Federation for the Blind, Errol Koplovitz, a leading constitutional attorney from Kansas City, Missouri, and he's here with Larry Stern, the editor of Nonprofit Times, and Joe Walton of Future Unlimited, a leading telemarketer. And we're going to talk now for a few minutes about the impact of the North Carolina decision on fundraising. And Earl, the first question I'd like to ask you is that in layman's terms, what was the Riley decision really about, and how does it affect direct marketing for nonprofits?
Well, the Riley decision really is a crescendo of a gathering storm of regulation that the nonprofits had been facing from the states, and it was the third time in this decade that the court has focused on the issues of regulation of nonprofits. The North Carolina legislation really attempted to distinguish between nonprofits that worked through professional representatives and those that did not. And what the court did in Riley was strike down this distinction and reaffirm the principle that was started in 1980 in the Schomburg case, and that is that every nonprofit has the right to get to the marketplace of ideas and support with its message, regardless whether it is large and substantial and works through paid staff, or whether it is new, small, or controversial and working through professional representation. And it was a very important victory because it stops the trend of overbroad, overreaching regulation.
Great, great. We have with us Larry Stern, who is the editor of Nonprofit Times. And as you know, Nonprofit Times is the official publication of Nonprofit Network. Larry, you've written a number of articles on this issue. Is there a question you'd like to put forward?
Yes, thanks, Jerry. Clearly, the reason for these laws was that there were some telemarketers that were perceived, at least, as stepping over the bounds of what was considered legitimate behavior. What, now that this decision has been made, what should charities do to convince a sometimes skeptical public that what they are doing is legitimate behavior?
Well, the answer has been and always will be is public education. North Carolina has a disclosure upon request statute, and the court in North Carolina indicated that there were sufficient laws to punish wrongdoers, and that it was wrong to perceive in advance that because abuses might happen, that you simply deny the use of that medium to the nonprofit. What has to happen is that both the nonprofit has to become more and more responsible, and the potential donor has to become more and more inquisitive. There are legitimate times and legitimate reasons for some of the results that are achieved from a financial basis. Part of the problem lies in the fact that state laws tend to define the concept or the word charity much broader than the Internal Revenue Code. And when you evaluate a small organization doing a special event of a civic club type nature and compare their 15 or 20% of the proceeds as against a large national charitable organization doing donor renewal and maybe getting 85 or 90% of the proceeds, you're really comparing apples and oranges. And what the nonprofits need to do, what the telemarketers need to do, and what the government needs to do is to educate the public.
Great. That's a good point. There's almost no understanding of the economics of the nonprofit sector. Joe Walton, you're a telemarketer who serves a variety of national and local and regional nonprofits in fundraising. What have you done as a result of the North Carolina decision? How have you changed the way you do business?
Well, Riley's caused us to, I think, certainly commit ourselves and those who use services in telemarketing to be concerned about issues involving the various legislative concerns and the particular concerns of a jurisdiction in which telemarketers are calling into. But by the same token, it gave us some comfort that laws are in place that can deal with these situations effectively. When you're calling coast to coast and the millions and millions of dollars as we do, and with a $53 billion industry of telemarketing, perhaps the largest single growth area of philanthropy being in telemarketing right now, it's something that is going to be here for the long haul. More charities are going to be involved in telemarketing, and as a result, Riley has certainly put its stamp on our industry. We, I think, as telemarketers have a responsibility to produce a good telemarketing performance for our clients, a good cost-benefits ratio, and a script that really communicates to the potential contributing public the essence of the nonprofit organization that's being served by telemarketing as a medium.
John, do you want to add? You're nodding your head there. You want to add something?
I think that the important issue is integrity, and we've talked about this with regard to direct mail, and I think that I'm concerned with people trying to regulate integrity. I think the nonprofits have to have integrity, and I think that the abuses often are reflected by the naivete or not necessarily greed, but just the ambition of a nonprofit to get some easy money, and then they get into situations which are compromising, and they don't understand the economics, and they project a bad image for other organizations. On the other hand, there are very large national charities that haven't really thought it through, haven't thought their scripts through, haven't really thought the dialogue through. And I think that people just have to think a little more carefully about it.
Anybody else want to chime in? Larry?
I have one other question. What is the immediate impact of this Supreme Court decision on state laws around the country, and what does this mean for the Model Act that was approved by the Attorneys General?
Well, the impact probably won't be something that we can all judge for another 3 or 4 years. The nonprofit Times ran a story and I think indicated that there may be as many as 22 other states who have laws that may be impacted. Since this decision came out, and in the last 10 days, we received a decision from the state of Tennessee federal court where we had challenged percentage-type limitations in that jurisdiction. We also have cases pending in the states of Pennsylvania, Colorado, and Indiana. We're going to see a whole new generation of legislation. Our office in Kansas City maintains files on all 50 states. And to keep up with the amount of regulation and the sources of regulation is almost a full-time job. And to advise our clients of what is going on and how to comply is far more cumbersome than is really necessary or really entitled to have to go through. And the issue of integrity that John mentioned is really the key to this whole thing